Now, in the last video, we talked about defeating or attacking the turtle position in nogi. Today, we're going to cover the gi variation of that. I'm going to give you 3 options. Now, keep in mind, the first 2 options are gi. The last option will work in both nogi and gi. If you're new to Jiu Jitsu, you probably noticed that someone who's good at playing turtle, this is a pain in the butt position to deal with, but I'm going to give you the proper tools to make that a much easier battle. Simple, effective, low risk, high reward. So if that sounds like you, I think you're going to like this one. Let's jump in. Attack number 1, the Illinois loop choke. Now, try not to get too wrapped up in the name of these things. I've heard this thing called so many different names. The name really isn't too important. It's what you're doing. Now, this is very similar to the Peruvian necktie, the nogi variation. What I really like about this choke is that it is probably the most powerful choke that I can think of. You're essentially deadlifting fabric, a rope of fabric, through your opponent's neck. So there's a lot of power in this one. You're going to want to be careful with it on your training partners. As I always say, in tournaments, full send. Now, as you can see in this example, my training partner is in turtle and I have my chest and all my body weight propped up on his upper back. I do this by taking my knees off the mat. I want to be on my feet. I want to make him carry my weight as much as possible. Now, what I want you to focus on here is being able to operate in the space without putting your knees on the mats, right? I see a lot of people who try to set this up. They try to work the submission and they drop their knees because they're so focused on doing the submission correctly. I really want you to focus on keeping your weight on his upper back throughout the whole process of this. And what I'm doing here is I'm collecting my gi so that a small section of what I would call a rope is sticking out the top side of my hand. Now that I have my rope, what I need to do is pass this past his jawline and to his armpit on the opposite side where my left hand is waiting. Once that rope is within reach, I grab it with my left hand. Now, once you complete this is essentially completing the circuits. You are 80% of the way there and your opponent is in a lot of trouble. Now, from here, I walk my legs to the left, and sometimes people can get confused on which way to walk. You're going to walk towards the hand that's holding the roped gi. Now, once I'm off to the side and perpendicular with my training partner, I'm going to take my right hand and press his head down to the mat. I don't want my opponent to feel like he can sit up at any time, because if he can posture up, it's going to be really hard for me to finish this. Now that his head is pressed down, I'm going to step my right leg up and over so that my right hamstring is sitting on the back of his head. From here, I then take my right hand and look for either his gi pants or his belt to grab onto. And I like to use this as air brakes in a way that when I sit down, I'm not falling away from my opponent. I want to stay nice and close to him as I sit my butt to the ground. Now, as I'm sitting down and in, I'm fanning my left leg out so that I can sit completely to my butt. And once I'm there, I take my left leg and wrap it up over his back. Now, in this circumstance, depending on your flexibility, all you really need is to be able to get a foot up there. You don't have to have your entire leg across the back. If you can get your entire leg across the back, well, bonus points to you. It's just going to make this even stronger, but truly all you need is a foot. For the purpose of practice and getting better at this, I would aim to have as much of your leg up there as possible. Now, once you're in this position with the rope gripped in your left hand, your right hamstring over the back of his head, and your left foot or leg across his lower back, all you are simply doing is a deadlift movement. You're straightening your back while you're pushing your legs away. This creates tons of tension applied through that roped gi into your opponent's neck. And I'll be completely honest with you, this is a very brutal choke. I've been able to submit people with one hand in between the rope and their neck, and even 2 hands in between the rope and their neck. And because there's so much power focused through a small piece of gi, that small tight rope, it's a very powerful and often painful submission. So just be good to your training partners, because there is an opportunity to hurt people here, and that's not what we're all about. So if you're not trying this one yet, I highly recommend you add it to your arsenal. It's simple and very, very effective. Attack number 2 is the clock choke. Now, this is one of the very first submissions I ever learned, but I gave up on it because I didn't understand it completely. So I really want to give you a mechanically sound but simplified version of this submission. So as you can see in the example, my opponent's in turtle again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a grip on his lapel just underneath his ear. All the while, I'm keeping good pressure through my chest into his back. Now, once I have that grip on his lapel, I'm going to rotate to the left. An easy way to remember this is you're just going to walk to the opposite side of the hand that's grabbing. So if you're using your right hand to grab his lapel, you're going to walk to the left. If you're using your left hand to grab his lapel, you're going to walk to the right. Now, in this example, I'm walking to the left, and as I walk to the left, I'm going to scoop my forearm under his face and up against his neck. Now, when you're training this, this is something that can be done relatively easily. If you're going to be doing this in competition, you're probably going to have to be a little more rough with scooping someone's face, and that's absolutely fine. If that happens, all you're going to do is take your radial bone, which is the same bone that you cross face with, and you're going to scoop under his forehead and down his face. Now, it's important to remember that as you're scooping under the face, you either need to be in place on the side of your opponent or you need to be doing it simultaneously. Now, once you're on the side and you have your scoop, so you're grabbing the far side lapel with your forearm under his chin, what I want you to do is take your far side arm. In this example, it's going to be my left hand. I'm going to reach across his torso, reach through his armpit, and I'm going to grab his wrist. Now, once I have that grip on his wrist, I'm going to pull that in towards his body so that he can't post and sit up. Now that I have all these pieces, we're about 90% done and he's in a lot of trouble. Next, what I do is I step through with my left leg and I push my torso up his back so that I encroach on his head, all while maintaining my grip on that lapel and his wrist. Once your body slides forward on his, you'll feel that the grip around his neck has now gotten tight. I then begin to walk towards the wrist that I've trapped with my opposite hand. As I circle my opponent, the grip on his lapel begins to get tighter and tighter. And if I want to make this even more effective, I can pull up on that lapel. And as you can see here, we get the tap. Now, one thing to remember, there are various levels of people who are able to eat a choke. Sometimes you're going to have opponents that tap pretty quickly to chokes. And sometimes you're going to have opponents that eat chokes really, really well. So remember to be patient with this. You're going to walk and it's going to get tight. And sometimes you're going to have to walk until it's so tight that you can't go anymore. And then you just hold it. Make sure you keep good pressure down on top of their head, and eventually they're going to tap. I like this one because it's using your body's weight and leverage to create power. So you don't necessarily need much athleticism or strength here. It's all leverage and weight. So in the case that you don't get the choke, you're not really burning yourself out trying to crush this person's neck. Your body and your leverage that you've applied will do the work for you. So you're either A, going to get the choke, or B, maybe it doesn't work and you're still not any more tired than you were when you started it, while your opponent just had to fight for his life to survive, which leaves you in a better position anyways. With this one being simple and effective, I'd recommend working it into your arsenal if you aren't already. Last but not least, and definitely the funniest of all the names in today's techniques, is the turtle dump. Now, while this one isn't a submission, it's really, really good at unraveling the turtle position, especially those who are good at turtle. So as you can see here, my training partner is in turtle, and I've got good chest pressure on the top center of his back. I then spin to the side using a tricep trap so that he can't reach up and single leg me. As I begin to spin towards his back, I also trap his tricep down so that he can't reach up and grab a leg. Now, once I'm on the side of him, I'm going to take my left forearm and put that into the back of his neck, applying weight down, pinning his head into the mat. Next, I'm going to reach between his legs and either grab the inner thigh material of his gi pants, his gi belt, or just his gi. And if it's no gi, I can go palm up against his belly, or I can hook onto his near side leg. Now from here, while pressing my weight into the back of his neck, I'm going to take my right arm and tilt his hips up in the air to a point where it makes him tip forward. He's going to roll onto his back and most likely unravel, at which point I'm hunting side control. It's only going to take you a couple reps to see how effective, easy, and honestly funny this one is. Now, you can use this on anyone, but personally, I enjoy using this on people who are really good at turtle. Simple, effective, and there's not a lot of room for error. So if you're not using this one yet, I definitely recommend practicing it. I'll never forget how much I struggled attacking turtle when I was a white belt. So I really want to give back to you guys on that one because I know it can be a confusing position for many people. So as I like to say, I'm not the only teacher here. If you guys are using something else when attacking turtle, drop it in the comments because we can all learn from each other, myself included. I always appreciate you guys. And thank you for all the likes, the support. I've been getting a lot of good comments lately. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for you guys. It really means a lot. So again, all of you that support me, Thank you. It means the world to me. With that being said, you know how we like to end them. Sometimes backwards, always forwards. I'll see you in the next one.